if you're not using commands in Cursor, you're probably wasting so much time. So I've just set this one up. It gets the link for Vercel, so like the project URL. Right now it's not on a custom domain. So it's done that. We can see in the docs folder it's created this Lighthouse directory. We're going to analyze the page. And what the instructions tell us to do is to download it as JSON, click these three dots, save as JSON. I'm going to add it into this Lighthouse directory, and then it tells us just reply yes when you've done that. So we've now got this performance report from the JSON that we saved, and then it now gives us recommendations on how to improve this. Obviously the scores I've got on here at the moment are pretty good, so there's only minor recommendations at the moment. So what you can actually do here is you can switch it to plan mode and say yes. Now I was kind of doing all of this manually, you know, none of this was automated. You know, you go to Vercel, you open it up, you save it, you add it here, because what I found is that when you run this in localhost, and I'm not 100% sure the reasons why this is, but it's not as accurate and compared to when you run it on the production version. So I was kind of doing this and then getting the recommendations, creating a plan, whereas now it's just done all of them steps. You know, I didn't create the folder, I didn't organize where this was going, I didn't have to find the URL from Vercel. All I had to do was write yes and then write yes again, and I've basically got a full report of the Lighthouse stats and a plan to fix everything, right? And because the commands are pretty clear, the steps in the command are really clear, right? So you can run this with auto or composer 1, so you don't need to use like a big model for this. And then here, once you've got this, then you can maybe change the model to something more suited to what you're working on. So yeah, use commands because they will speed up your workflow, and I'll add this somewhere on this post. But think of them like sets of instructions that you need to use all the time, and get it so what I find is I'll set it up in a rough way, I'll use it a bit, I'll see where the kind of issues are, and then in the project where it's working, in the chat where I have context about what we did differently to get the thing to the point it was working well, then I'll go to, for example, say it was in this chat, I would go to the file of this command and then drag it from here into this chat and then say update this command based on what we did here, right? And then double check it, test it, and then the problems you run into kind of get solved once, and then that's it. And with this one, where it was running commands to get the production URL from Vercel, I did a few tests first with the agent to get that programmatically, and then once we were confident that that was working, then update the command. So I feel like there's this kind of workflow that I've worked out for getting the commands to work well. The thing that I like about this format is that you can get it to ask the user things, right? If they say yes, then do this. For example, I've used Opus 4.5 for writing the commands. I feel like if I used auto or if I used a lower end model, it didn't write the commands kind of as a list of instructions. It was more like, check if there's a directory called Lighthouse, right? It wasn't saying make sure it exists, like if it doesn't exist, make it. So it needs to read like instructions. And then for this one, it was initially showing these instructions for the user before it runs this. And I found that a little bit hard to follow in the chat. So I made it show these instructions for the user after it runs this stuff, because I don't really need to see the output of this. This is just kind of a reminder for instructions on what you need to do once these steps are done. And then it flows in this nice way, you know, it does what it needs to do, makes the folder, does the checks, opens Chrome, we save it. And the reason as well we didn't run this with the CLI is because it just got blocked by Vercel. So I don't know if there's a way around that, but this was the best workaround. This was the workflow that made sense, and this is just kind of some insight into how to use the commands. Also, another one I've started using is this write agents MD. So in new files to write the agents MD. And just things which I'm doing all the time. Like mainly I'm making websites. So a launch checklist, copy review, SEO check, security check. You know, these are the steps which are kind of repetitive things which I'm doing in every single project all the time. This is just kind of a better way of doing it. I think that it does take a little bit of back and forth. Like I've been kind of like codifying some of these ideas over a few days. Like I was like, I need to do this for analytics. And then I thought, what is the actual steps for me to do this with analytics? Like what analytics app am I basically using? Like am I using Umami or Plausible or Google Analytics? And then, yeah, just thinking about what needs to be in every single project, just doing it like this. This is definitely a better way of doing it than, you know, saying, can we check how fast this website is, and then manually doing all of these things. You know, turn it into a process, solve the problem once, fix the problem once, and then use that same thing every other time you need to do that problem.